Hey, Internet Church, it's Luke here, again with a 3-minute sermon. This is in the book of Galatians, and I'm going to kind of set this up. This is part one. Basically, Paul, you know who Paul is, wrote 2/3 of the New Testament, founded a lot of churches. So he had founded a series of churches in the Roman province of Galatia. A few years later, he learns that the religious leaders of the old school, the old Jews, have come into those churches, called his views and authority into question, and are reintroducing Jewish laws, customs, herding all these freedom-loving Christians back into the corral of religious rules and regulations. So we're going to start off Galatians 3. You crazy Galatians, did someone put a hex on you? Have you taken leave of your senses? Something crazy has happened, for it's obvious that you no longer have the crucified Jesus in clear focus in your lives. Paul's pissed. His sacrifice on the cross was certainly set before you clearly enough. Let me put this question to you. How did your new life begin? Was it working your heads off to please God, or was it by responding to God's message to you? Are you going to continue this craziness? For only crazy people would think they could complete their own efforts what was begun by God. If you weren't smart enough or strong enough to begin it, how do you suppose you could perfect it? Did you go through this whole painful learning process for nothing? It is not yet a total loss, but it certainly will be if you keep this up. Obviously Paul was very angry at this. He had really shown these people the freedom. The law, again, going back to the law is holy. God gave us the law temporarily. Number one, to show us our sin, show us our weaknesses, and it was there as a temporary fix until Jesus was able to come and fulfill it. Jesus said, I didn't come to abolish the law, but to fulfill the law. We trusted Christ, we received the Holy Spirit, and then, these new Gentiles did all this without the law of Moses. So, through the Holy Spirit, they're God's chosen people just like the Jews. So why add the law is what, Paul's saying. Why go get circumcised? Why keep Sabbath and holy days and all this stuff that the Jews do when the Gentiles are on the same level ground? That's why Jesus came. So, again, the law is holy, it's justifiable, we just can't fulfill it, so that's why Jesus came, not to abolish it, but to fulfill the law. And Paul's just going nuts, saying, why are you guys going back to your old ways, trying to be all religious, trying to, put on this facade, or act like the Jews are doing, when your inheritance is exactly the same without the law of Moses involved whatsoever. So, again, by believing on Jesus, we don't have to worry about the law. The law brings, shows us our sin, and it brings death. That's the penalty for the law, but Jesus fulfilled it. So hopefully we understand that. And on to part 2.